请坐。
Please be seated.
大家早。
Good morning, everyone.
第二天的社青的灵修会，很快下午就结束了。
Today is the second day of our YASC, and this afternoon it will quickly come to a close.
所以在这个短暂的周末期间大家聚在一起每个时间都很宝贵。
In this short weekend that we have together, every moment is precious.
相信许多人是第一次彼此见面，互相认识的。
And I believe for many of us, this is our first time meeting each other.
有人即使住在这个区域，也是第一次参加这个社青年会。
And even for those of us who live in this area, it might be our first time attending a YASC.
我们参加过之后，其实就会有一个感受。
After we attend such an event, we come away with a certain impression.
有时候我们没有参加以前，都觉得说好赶，好可怕。
For those of us who are here for the first time, we might feel that it is very rushed, and we might feel nervous.
因为你要跟一堆人睡在一起，
Because you need to sleep together with a bunch of people in a room.
你要不管是上厕所、洗澡，你会觉得说好拥挤。
And whether it's using the bathroom or washing up, you feel that it's very crowded.
你会觉得好像时间很赶。
And you feel that the schedule is very rushed.
但是当我们走过之后，你会发现说，其实这样的体验在别的地方找不到。
But after we finish an event like this, we realize that we cannot find a similar kind of experience elsewhere.
那我们才知道说，原来很多我们认为的障碍是可以克服的。
And then we realize that many of the things which we thought were obstacles can actually be overcome.
那我们在主里面认识的朋友多了之后，
And after we have met more friends in Christ,
我们就会发现每一个弟兄姐妹其实都很宝贵、很可爱。
and we realize that every one of our brothers and sisters are very precious and very lovable.
昨天其实很多人在讲话讲到一点还没睡觉。
I think a lot of people stayed up chatting until 1 a.m. last night.
那表示说，其实我们会很珍惜大家在一起的时间，你宁可牺牲睡眠的，不愿意就这样睡了。
And I think it means that because the time together is so precious, we would rather sacrifice some time for sleep to spend more time getting to know each other.
因为你睡觉还有其他时间，但是你在一起的时间可能就昨天一个晚上而已。
Because you will have more time to sleep later on, but the time that you have with each other is limited, perhaps just last night.
表示说我们会很珍惜一个时段我们可以在一起的。
It means that we cherish this time that we have together.
这个叫做我们会珍惜时间。
And this is what it means to use our time wisely, to
今天-
cherish our time.
今天早上来谈一谈，我们要珍惜我们的青春。
This morning, I would like to talk about cherishing the spring of our youth.
我们是很有限的，
So we are limited.
我们这个荧幕太小，不是字太多了。
So sorry, I have too many words on this screen.
应该是把它放成不同的slide的那种把字放大。
I should
也
put,
许可以做了。
I should put less words on each slide so that you can see it better.
不过太小了，这个如果年纪大了根本看不到。
But now the words are small, and so if you are older, it's really hard to see.
其实像教会很多的设备要跟着进化，就是说荧幕应该变大了。
So with church, our technology needs to continue to advance, so we probably need a bigger projector, a bigger screen.
不然就是这边也要一个。
Or else we need to have 2 projectors.
不管怎么样，就是要让教会这些设备能够让大家看得更清楚，能够当他在聚会的时候，你能够真的明白到底我在学什么。
But in any case, I hope that our church facilities can continue to improve so that as we gather to study God's words, we can all be able to learn better.
因为我们的时间其实是很短暂的，
Because our time really is limited.
就好像大家能够聚在教会的时间很短，
Just like the time that we can spend together in church is very limited.
能够真的专心做一件事情的，一起做的时间很短。
The time that we have to work together diligently on a certain project is limited.
我们来谈一谈有限的我要珍惜时间。
So for us, we who are limited, we need to know how to cherish our time.
看一下传道书第1章。
Let's turn to Ecclesiastes chapter 1.
传道书第1章
Ecclesiastes chapter 1,
13节，读一下。
verse 13. Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 13. And I set my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all that is done under heaven, this burdensome task God has given to the sons of man, by which they may be exercised.
17节，
Verse 17. And I set my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this also is grasping for the wind.
好，13节这是作者所罗门王他特别说，我专心用智慧寻求，我要查究天下所做的一切事。
In verse 13, the author, King Solomon, said, I set my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all that is done under heaven.
然后17节一样，他讲他很专心的查明智慧、狂妄跟愚昧。
And in verse 17, he says again, I set my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly.
那这里如果用中文看的话，你就发现他很专心的做一件事情，他要明白这到底怎么一回事。
When you read the Chinese, it's very clear that Solomon is very diligent in putting all his effort to understand this thing.
我们知道所罗门他的智慧，神赐的，那没话讲。
We know that the wisdom of Solomon was given to him by God.
但是所罗门他所知道这些事情，不是神说跟他讲说什么什么什么，他好像是把它记录而已，不是啊。
But his wisdom, it was not like God just told him everything and he memorized it or wrote it all down.
我们可以发现说他多么用心在观察他的生活，周遭的所有的环境。
We can see that Solomon was very diligent to observe his surroundings and to learn from the things that happened around him.
我们如果传道书发现他很用心的在探究很多事情的礼仪，他来求智慧。
And from Ecclesiastes, we see that Solomon set his heart to seek out and search out the things of the world and to understand them.
所以说他在第13节他说他是要去知道说，原来他用专心去观察查究之后，发现说神教世人所经历的是极重的劳苦。
In verse 13, after Solomon set his heart to seek and search out wisdom, he found that there is this burdensome task which God has given to all man.
就是他做一个王，但是他其实也在观察那些百姓他们的生活。
Although he was a king, he also was carefully observing the common people and their lives.
他也不是一出生就当王，
And he also wasn't born a king.
他也是学习他的父亲，
He had to learn from his father.
他从小一直观察累积他的能力的。
And from young, he observed and learned so that he could have experience.
所以你就看到说，这个年轻的岁月真的是要用心学习观察。
So from this, we know that the years of our youth need to be spent in observation and learning.
那而且很多事情要去想。
And we also need to consider and meditate on many
第
things.
17节说，我专心查明智慧、狂妄跟愚昧啊。
In verse 17, Solomon said that he set his heart to know wisdom, madness, and folly.
什么叫做狂妄
What is madness?
啊？什么叫做愚昧
And what is folly?
啊？如果是愚昧当中，可能就会出现狂妄。
If you are in folly, there might also be madness.
所以那个愚昧人以为自己很厉害啊，
A foolish person thinks that they are very great.
以为自己可以掌握一切，
They think that they can do everything.
但其实那是错误的。
But actually, that is false.
那个叫做你不知道天高地厚，
It shows that you are ignorant of the vastness of the world.
那以为人可以做什么，其实因为他不认识神，
And humans think that they can do everything because they do not know God.
所以他现在专心要明白说什么叫智慧，什么叫做狂妄，什么叫做愚昧，这当中到底是怎么关系？
And so that is why Solomon set his heart to know wisdom, madness, and folly and the relationships between them.
这个没有用心的去观察、去记录，你不会得到那个当中最重要的部分。
Unless you carefully observe these and write them down and think about them, you will not be able to understand.
表示说信仰我们要去实际上用心的去体验、去观察。
And this tells us that in our faith, we also need to carefully observe and to experience it for ourselves.
观察我们周围的弟兄姐妹，
We need to observe the brothers and sisters around us.
观察那些年长的，
Observe the elders.
观察那些年轻人他怎么长大的。
Observe the children and how they grow up.
你通常在观察的时候，真的这个叫做智慧，你是眼睛可以看得清楚的。
As you observe more with your eyes, then you will gain wisdom.
就好像你今天如果看到一个小孩子，他这种行为模式，他如果没有改变，你就知道他以后会变什么样子。
For example, when you look at some children and see how they live their lives right now, you will have an idea of how they will be when they grow
我
up.
们当中有在学校当老师的，
Some of us are teachers.
你如果老师，你从小观察这个孩子长大的过程，
If as a teacher you observe a child growing up,
通常他在小的时候有一个行为模式，他 长大的时候，除非有一个转捩点，不然他就是这样子一直走。
And when they are very young, you will observe a certain kind of behavior that they have. And unless something drastically changes in their life, they may carry that behavior on into adulthood.
他的转变就是在他受教育的时候。
But the change happens when they become educated.
如果他真的是得到教育的，
If a child is truly educated
他
and
的思想
taught,
就可能改变。
then their way of thinking may change.
但是如果没有，
But if they do not,
他就照着他的家庭父母亲的那个模式，就一直这样子，或社会的模式这样走。
then they will continue to behave according to the pattern of their childhood, of their family, or their society.
那我们今天现在是因为有信仰，
Today, because we have faith,
所以在信仰里面，我们可以成长
so we can grow up in faith.
啊。在教会里面，你看到老人家，
In the church, you see the
你看到
elders,
不同的家庭。
you see different families.
其实我们如果仔细去观察，你会发现哪些家庭是有福的，哪些家庭是在受苦的，你就可以很清楚了。
But if you observe carefully, you can see that there are some families who are very blessed and some families who must go through a lot of suffering.
有福的是怎么来的？
How are the ones who are blessed, how did that come
这
upon
些
them?
人是他是怎么样敬畏神，怎么在守道理的？
How do they fear God and how are they keeping his commandments?
所以为什么说在教会里面我们要用心？
So that is why in the church we also need to set our hearts on it.
有时候你还要跟弟兄姐妹有这种沟通了解，
You need to communicate and understand other brothers and sisters
我们才不会只是看表面的。
so that we do not only look at the surface.
很多时候这个社会是很表面的，
A lot of times society is very superficial
人跟人之间有时候是很表面的。
and the way that people interact with each other is also very superficial.
但是真正要能够明白的，就是我们用心的去了解，
But in order to truly understand, we need to set our hearts to diligently observe and learn.
然后也才知道说什么叫做欲望。
Then we will know what is folly.
那这个都是要时间哦，就是要用心哦。
All of these require time and effort.
年轻的时候，其实有时候因为缺少经验，
A lot of times when we are young, because we lack
也
experience,
会被骗。
we might be deceived.
但是被骗之后，你就学到了。
But after we are deceived once, then we will learn our lesson.
那你学到了这个就是成长了。
And after we learn, then we mature.
我们常常有时候被骗了，才知道说原来人不是那么单纯。
It's often only after we have been tricked many times that we realize other people are not so simple.
最难的就是人，有时候人会人心诡诈。
That human nature can actually be very crafty and deceitful.
当我们被骗的时候，你就知道说我不可以成为这种人啊，要成为真实的人啊。
When we are tricked by others, then we realize we do not want to be like them, but we want to be a sincere person.
因为我们知道被骗的滋味是什么。
Because we know what it feels like to be deceived.
好，再看第7章25节。
Next, let us turn to chapter 7, verse 25.
7章25节，
Chapter 7, verse 25.
来进读。
Verse 25. I applied my heart to know, to search and seek out wisdom and the reason of things, to know the wickedness of folly, even of foolishness and madness.
他这里说 apply my heart， 我转念，其实他这个就是一直在想了哈。
Here, when Solomon says, I applied my heart to know, it means that he was continually thinking about these things.
然后他现在就是要去知道说，哦，原来是罪恶、邪恶是愚妄，愚昧是狂妄。
To know the wickedness of folly, even of foolishness and madness.
所以这个 folly 就是说我们是愚昧的时候，真的是狂妄，到最后真的是忘了自己是谁了。
So when we fall into a lot of wickedness, foolishness, and madness, we truly forget who we are.
好，看第8章9节。
Chapter 8, verse 9. Verse 9. All this I have seen and applied my heart to every work that is done under the sun. There is a time in which one man rules over another to his own hurt.
好，这个一样哦，专心他要查考我所做的一切事。他说，有时候这个人管辖呢，令人受苦。那当然就是什么都有时间，有一个机会。
From this verse, Solomon observed that there is a time in which one man rules over another to his own hurt, and he's saying that to everything there is a time.
那有人他会误用他的权利的。
And there are some people who will abuse their power.
好，那表示说这个社会有很多事情哈，你看了会很不满意。
And this means that when we look at society, there will be many things that cause us to feel
但是没有
dissatisfied.
关系啊，有一天这个人也会进入坟墓里。
But that is okay because eventually these people will also go to the grave.
眼睛看远一点就没事了。
And after you observe for a longer period of time, things will become better.
16节，
Verse 16. When I applied my heart to know wisdom and to see the business that is done on earth, even though one sees no sleep day or night.
我 apply my heart 专心哈，你看一样。
Again, he says, I applied my heart.
然后他说要看世上所做的事情，他是想要去明白的，进一步深入。
So he says he applied his heart to know wisdom and to see the business that is done on earth. So he wanted to put all his effort into understanding it more deeply.
9章1节。
Chapter 9, verse 1. For I considered all this in my heart, so that I could declare it all, that the righteous and the wise and their works are in the hand of God. People know neither love nor hatred by anything they see before them.
其实最后神掌握一切，都在神手上。
So in the end, everything is in the hands of God.
所以为什么我们说要知道说，如果我现在信神的人，
That is why today, if we are people that believe in God,
神给我们这份信仰，
God has given us this faith,
要用心，
we need to be diligent.
不能够这样子迷迷糊糊、糊里糊涂，不知道自己在信什么。
We cannot be so absent-minded and ignorant, not truly understanding what it is that we believe.
我们所做的都有一个标准的，有一个根据的，是有圣经根据的。
Everything that we do has a standard. It has evidence from the Bible.
好。那我们在用心在探究的时候，其实这个就是时间在用上去了，用时间。
And when we apply our heart to understand these things, then we have to spend the time to
那
understand
这
them.
个当中有时候会受苦。
In this process, sometimes we will suffer.
我觉得年轻要知道说不用怕苦。
But as youths, we should not be afraid of suffering.
年轻就是有弹性。
Because as youths, we are very resilient.
就是不怕压了会反弹回来的。
If you are under pressure, you can always bounce back.
压不会压碎的，你有那个张力，你可以承受得住。
Under pressure, you will not break. You can recover.
3章10节。
Chapter 3, verse 10.
3章10节。
Chapter 3, verse 10. Verse 10. I have seen the God-given task with which the sons of men are to be occupied.
好。3章第10节我这里是说你是 occupied 吗 ？exercise 吗
Occupied.
好，我见神叫世人劳苦，使他们在其中受精炼啊。那这个就是其实，在生活当中经过很多苦。
So in our lives, if we go through a lot of suffering,
那这个苦其实都有价值的。
this suffering actually has its value.
年轻人如果怕苦什么事情都做不了。
If a youth is afraid of suffering and bitterness, then they will not be able to endure anything.
所以如果那个困难的工作你不要害怕。
So do not be afraid of difficult work.
我们要了解，有时候我们就是在这个当中得到一个很宝贵的经验。
Sometimes it is through this challenge that we are able to gain a very valuable experience.
所有弹性就是你可以低也可以高。
And to be flexible or resilient means that you can be high and you can be low.
在很低的时候，你不会自己很失落信心，说我很没有用。
But when you are low, you will not lose faith and think that you are useless.
那当很高的时候，你不会很骄傲说我好像天下第一的。
But when you are high, you also will not become proud and arrogant.
都知道说这当中其实都是有神的带领的。
Because you recognize that all of these things are by the guidance of God.
苦有时候就是一种补了，就是人家说吃苦就像吃补了。
So bitterness and suffering can actually be beneficial for us, like good medicine.
那会强化我们的心智的，强化就是 strengthen。
Oh, it will strengthen our heart.
因为在受苦当中受精炼的时候，你才知道说原来神有更高的旨意。
Through suffering, you will have this experience that God actually has a higher plan for
所以
us.
罗马书才会说万事互相效力，叫爱神的人得益处。
And that is why in Romans it says that all things work together for good to those who love God.
因为我们还年轻呢，所以有些苦会让我们吃的就你会成长的。
As youth, there will be sufferings and bitterness that we have to encounter, but through these we can grow and mature.
我们当中没有什么人当过兵啊？有人当过兵吗？
有
谁呀？
So
当兵的人已经就觉得说我们这边实在太轻松了。
So for those of us who have gone through the military, they will feel that this kind of seminar is too easy. 那
所以其实有当兵的经验就是你会 你不可以怕苦。
If you go through military training, you will learn not to fear suffering.
而且他吃过苦之后，他会很不一样。
And after they have gone through this experience, they will be a very different person.
被操练的时候是没有什么尊严的，尊严就踩在底下了。
In military training, you have no self-esteem. Your self-esteem is squashed to the
以
ground.
为自己没有办法，但是其实被超过之后就可以。
And there are many times where you feel like you can't do it, but after the training, you realize you can do it.
我还记得我们当兵的时候，那时候每天跑5000公尺。
I remember when I was in the military, we had to run 5,000 meters every day,
3 mile，
about 3 miles.
然后晚上可能睡觉都只有睡4个小时而已。
And every night we slept only about 4 hours.
有时候还要站卫兵，你还要晚上都不能睡。
Sometimes you have to be the sentry, and so you
但是
cannot
不管
sleep.
怎么样，你早上起来时间已经到了，就是要去跑5000公尺。
But no matter what happens, whether you slept or not, every morning at the appointed time, you wake up and you run those
一开
miles,
始
3
很
miles.
痛苦，但是后来就慢慢觉得说还蛮不错的。
And at first, it was very painful, but after a while, we got used to it.
那这个就是其实是可以被训练的。
And this, so we can be trained to
所以
endure.
苦它事实上会让我们成长。
So actually, suffering and bitterness helps us to grow.
神有时候给我们的苦，当然不见得只有是肉体上的。
And of course, sometimes the sufferings which God gives us are not just physical.
有时候是心灵上的。
Sometimes it is emotional,
但没有关系。
but that is okay
圣灵会带领我们走过。
because the Holy Spirit will guide us through.
好，那这个过程当中，我们就会纪念主，我们就会知道神的爱了。
Through this process, we will actually come to remember our Creator and to
所以我
know
们
His love.
我们这一次主题说，我们要趁着年幼的时候，要纪念造我们的主。
This time, our theme is to remember our Creator in the days of our youth.
要知道说，有一天黑暗的日子会到，就是我们体力会消失。
We must recognize that in the future, there will be days of darkness when our strength fails.
11章第7节，
Chapter 11, verse 7.
第7信读。
Verse 7 Truly, the light is sweet, and it is pleasant for the eyes to behold the sun.
第8节。
Verse 8 But if a man lives many years and rejoices in them all, yet let him remember the days of darkness, for they will be many. All that is coming is vanity.
好，有一天黑暗的日子会到，那个光会越来越暗了。
Someday, the days of darkness will come, and the light will become dim.
好，那继续看第10节，
Verse 10.
第9节、第10
Oh,
节。
sorry. Verse 9 and verse 10. Rejoice, O young man, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Walk in the ways of your heart and in the sight of your eyes. But know that for all these, God will bring you into judgment. Therefore, remove sorrow from your heart and put away evil from your flesh, for childhood and youth are vanity.
好，所以这里提到说，要年轻的时候也要像这里说的哈，你应当要欢唱，心里要欢喜。
So here it tells us that as youths, we ought to rejoice.
好，那要你心所愿的，你要去做，要去做。
You should walk in the ways of
看
your
你眼
heart
所爱看的是可以
and
的，
in the sight of your eyes. So
但是要知道，你看完之后，神要问你，你看了什么？
So you can do what your heart desires and see what your eyes desire, but just remember that in the end, God will bring all of these into judgment.
其实是说，我们知道，我们最后不管你做什么，都有一个结果。
It means that whatever we do, there will always be a consequence.
好，那年轻的时候，第10节说，除去愁烦呢、
Verse 10 Therefore, remove sorrow from your heart
从肉体克去邪恶了。
and put away evil from your flesh.
从 flesh 你就知道说这是从肉体来的了。
So this is talking about the desires of the flesh.
那心有时候会很愁苦。
Sometimes our heart is also very
你
sorrowful.
知道少年，有时候年轻人不知道什么叫愁滋味，有时候就是会这样子，落入那种好像一个死胡同里面，说好像人生没有意义了。
Sometimes as youths, we might fall into the depths of despair and we feel very hopeless and we don't know what to do with our
但
lives.
是其实不是的，
But actually, that it is not as bad as we think.
我们要求主帮助我们。
We need to ask God to help us
那我们年轻的时候我们有活力
so that in our youth we can be full of vitality.
然后年轻要有创造力的
And as youths, we also should be full of
当我们聚在一起的
creativity.
时候，可能就有很多的想法可以跑出来。
So that when we gather together, we can inspire each other
要
with
怎么样来
many
回报主耶
ideas.
稣的爱，
Think about how to repay the love of
为
our Lord
我们的
Jesus
教会能够 付出什么？
And what can we do to serve in the church?
我们现在教会到底有哪些不足的地方？我们可以做什么来让它更好？
In what areas is the church lacking, and how can we make up for it? How can we fill what is
而
lacking
不
in
是
the
只是说
church?
教会怎么这样怎么那样，怎么为什么不好那么不好？那为什么我不要去做？
But not just always complaining that, oh, the church doesn't do this or that well, and we don't do anything about it.
或者是觉得说不理想，我可以提出来建议改变啊，
If we see something that is not ideal, we can make suggestions
我
to
们可以去
change,
做啊。
or we can do it ourselves.
所以这个叫做我们在纪念主，我们想要用我们这个年轻的时候，我们这个时间，这个体力，我们来为主的时候做事。
And so to remember our Creator in the days of our youth means that while we are still young and have strength, we ought to think about how we can serve God and actually go do it.
求主耶稣带领，
So we ask the Lord to help
赐给我
us.
们力量，
May He give us strength,
让我们有智慧
that we may have wisdom,
所以我们知道怎么珍惜我们年轻的这个岁
so we
月。
know how to cherish the days of our youth.
虽然我是有限的，但是主是无限的。
Although we are limited, God is unlimited.
我们一起来祷告
So。now let's all
到前面来祷告。
come forward, kneel down to pray.
In the name of Jesus, we pray. 奉主耶稣圣名。
announcements. So hopefully everyone rested well last night. Today's our last day. So take this opportunity for what it is and try to fellowship with one another as much as possible. So 3 quick announcements. First is, if you haven't taken a COVID test, please do. And you don't need to tell us your result. You only need to tell us if it's positive. So we trust that you will tell the truth. The second is, if you require transportation assistance, please let one of the committee members know as soon as possible. And the third is just a reminder that before you break for lunch, we'll have our photos taken. Okay, that's all.